Hi, and welcome to Dietless Living 360 Degrees, Overcoming Weight Loss Obstacles with me, your host, Katie Gordon. As a weight loss coach, I help my clients to overcome their weight loss obstacles so they can lose weight their way and lose it for life. The old saying that it takes a village to raise a child is the same when it comes to our health and weight loss goals, because our weight loss obstacles reach out into so many other areas of our life, into our relationships, our businesses, our work, our homes, and sometimes out into other areas of our health. Maybe we have injuries, more complex health issues that we need to deal with. So with that in mind, Dietless Living 360 Degrees brings in other professionals to help you overcome those obstacles. And today we have the lovely Kelly Asmus Albornoz from Barnsdale in East Gippsland, Victoria. Kelly helps people to quit smoking with the Quit Cigarettes in 60 Minutes program. She's helped more than 200 customers to successfully quit smoking. The program is covered by a lifetime guarantee, and Kelly is passionate about giving her customers their control back from the cigarette habit and stands by all her customers until they're successful. There's no limit to the time that you can come back and talk to Kelly about the program. Kelly's also written a book called The Quit Book, which hit #1 in its category on Amazon in 2019, a month after being released. And it was on the top spot for a few weeks after that and stayed in the top 10 for many months after. The methods that Kelly uses are a mixture of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and advanced hypnosis techniques to help her customers to control their smoking habit at the source, which is in the non-conscious mind. Hypnosis is such a powerful tool for dealing with habits, and combined with NLP and her free follow-up sessions, her success rate is over 95%. So welcome to the show, Kelly. It's great having you with us today. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and what the main way is, obviously, that you help your clients, which is to quit smoking?
Hi, Katie. It's great to see you again. So I help my customers, as you said, with neurolinguistic programming, and I also use hypnosis techniques. So when my customers come in, they're coming in to quit smoking, and, that's the obvious thing. But why do they want to quit smoking? And that's what I help them to really get clear on. So by the time that they're going into the hypnosis session, they're giving up the costs. They're giving up the impacts on their health. They're giving up the coughs and the breathlessness and the impacts on their kids or their grandkids or whatever it is that's really important to that person. And the reason that I do it as a one-to-one program is because it's different for every single person that comes in. And the reason that it's so successful, as you said, is because people can come back for a free follow-up session if they need to. And they can do that for up to 3 times. So a total of 4 times. But most people are fine after the first, or, sometimes if they need a second session, especially if they're really nervous, they might not be able to relax quite as much.
Yeah.
But by the second session, they know exactly what's going to happen. So they're completely relaxed and they're fine. They're good to go in, the time that they're leaving the office.
Wow, that's amazing. And a 95% success rate, which is astonishingly great. And I remember back in my day when I used to smoke, it took me a long time to give up smoking. I was kind of the sort of person who slowly weaned myself off them over time. So just to come in and do 1, maybe 2 60-second, well, that would be fast, wouldn't it?
That would be very fast.
Do 1 or 2 60-minute sessions with you and just be done and dusted is sensational.
Absolutely. Yeah, I used to be a smoker as well. It took me 7 attempts to give up. So I know how hard it is. I put on 8 kilos in 2 weeks, and it took a lot longer than 2 weeks to get rid of it again. In fact, I never really got rid of all of it. So, and that's going back a few years now.
Yeah.
But I know from experience how hard it is. And sometimes you just need someone to stand by you and say, do you know what? I've got you. We've got this together. So that's why I do it. That's why I'm so passionate about it.
And that's the thing, isn't it? We really want somebody there to support us. And even if it's, not continued support, I mean, you do a 60-minute session with your clients, but it's just knowing somebody, like you say, has got your back.
Absolutely, yeah. And with all the, we had bushfires here 2019 to 2020 over the summer period, and that was devastating for our region. So there was quite a few of my customers that then got in touch with me and said, oh, I went back to smoking. I'm like, do you know what? It's okay. Just come back in. These people had, sorry, I get a little bit emotional. They'd filled up their car and their trailer and were driving away, not knowing if they're ever going to see the house again. And someone, there was one guy that his brother-in-law was beside him in the car and he's having a cigarette because he was so stressed. And he's like, oh, just give me one. As soon as he had that one, he was, the habit comes back and everything else comes back as well, all the cravings and everything. But he waited for about 6
relapse,
months.
isn't it?
Yeah, but he did the thing that brought him comfort. And I can't say, oh, you shouldn't have done that, because it brought him comfort at the time.
Yeah. In one of probably the most stressful times of his whole entire life.
Yeah. And, I live in town and we still had boxes of stuff packed up, not knowing what was going to happen, and, right in the middle of town. So I can imagine what it was like for them to have all their stuff in their car and driving away from this home that they had built, and God knows if they're going to see it again.
Yeah. Did it happy ending?
They did. They had sprinklers and everything set up all across the whole roof. So they got home, they had no water left in their tanks, but the house was safe. So they had, it was very, very good. A blessing for them that the weather turned and went the opposite direction. Not so great for the people in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I remember that year.
Lost. Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, Australia, like, it wasn't even just down in your region. You guys got bad though, but it was like Australia was on fire for
absolutely. A lot of the East Coast was on fire. There was I think it was around the same time that Kangaroo Island, and there was parts of the West as well. It was horrific.
Yeah, it was a season to remember, that's for sure, for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So
during 2020, we were just getting back to some kind of normal. The fires were under control for 2 weeks before the pandemic was announced in Australia. So that was,
we had a flood in between there too, remember?
Yes.
Because it was, everyone was jokingly, but not really, like, fire, flood, pestilence. Was it pestilence? Whatever that,
Yeah.
The other one. Pestilence is bugs, isn't it?
Same time to be alive.
It was a weird year for sure.
Yeah. So there was a few people that, due to COVID and losing their jobs and, getting sick and whatever else, that also, they took up smoking again for whatever reason. So all of 2020 and all of 2021, I didn't even count the sessions. So those people could come back multiple times and they weren't even counted towards their final count of sessions.
Yeah.
And it was, it's a small thing that I can do, but to them, it meant a lot.
Exactly. And, you're serving people, aren't you? You're helping them because, it's an extraordinary time for everybody, really. Like, there wasn't one person that wasn't affected by all of that. So thank you for that. Thank you for helping humanity.
No, that's okay. I mean, I like helping people. I'm a born helper and nurturer. So that's just, But as you also mentioned, I wrote a book.
Yes.
And this, I've got to say it, when people tell you that you can't do something, this is what you do. I had 2 little kids. My daughter was only a baby, and I was starting to write my book, and I had so many people going, don't do it, it's not the right time. You'll wait until they're at school and all this sort of stuff. But this book was coming out of me anyway. It was just writing itself. So I had my brain just like a dump of all this information into the computer.
Yep.
And then that's how I wrote the book. So it's very much how I'm talking now is very much how the book is written. It's like having a conversation, but I'm not actually there.
Yeah.
But
which makes it so easy to read, right? They're the easiest books to read because they are conversational.
Yeah. And it goes through chapter 1, your goal. So getting really clear on what your goal is and why it's your goal. Then it goes into your triggers, when you're going to give up smoking and how to make that choice, then taking action, all the other things that I go through with my customers already for the first part of our quit smoking session.
Yep.
And so I actually give them a copy of this book when they book in.
Oh, great.
Just because then they can go through, they know what their triggers are by the time they come in for the session.
Yep.
They know what their reasons are. So by the time they come in, they're so clear that it's even more successful because they know exactly what they need to do and why they want to do it, and the things that are holding them back.
And they can buy the book on Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Is it on
and
your website?
it's pardon?
Is it on your website?
Yeah, I even have thequitbook.com.au. I was really lucky to nab that one. So it's literally just called The Quit Book.
Yep. Excellent.
And I have to say, it's got lots of quotes. I'm a photographer as well. I put a lot of my favorite birds or my favorite photos and things in there. So it's very, very empowering. I'm hoping for, everyone that's read it so far has said that, it was really good to read before they come in to see me.
Yep.
I haven't actually heard feedback from anyone that hasn't come in yet, but hopefully there will be. I need to actually get out there and ask for reviews because I haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's been very, very successful for all the people that I know of.
Excellent. So they can get that book on Amazon, or they can come to your website, which was again
thequitbook.com.au.
Yep. Okay, lovely.
Yep.
So Kelly, we already kind of touched on a little bit with the fires, but one of the questions I like to ask my guests is I like to talk about what are the biggest hardships that they've had to overcome in their life. So, I say hardships, sometimes people don't relate to hardships, but then when I say, obstacles or challenges, oh yes, I've had some obstacles and challenges. So what's some of the, either one or more of the biggest hardships, challenges, or obstacles that you've had to overcome? And how did you do it? What were the strategies that you used? How did you build your resilience to overcome it?
Yeah. I definitely know what you mean by hardships. I've had a very roller coaster life, put it that way. Started off with my biological father most likely still is a pedophile. Oh, and, having to get past all that stuff. When I was about 8.5, I finally told Mum what was going on, because before that I thought it was normal. It's how I'd grown up. So I didn't know any different. I can talk about it easily now. All the NLP training that I've done really helped me to have the strategies to be able to let that stuff go.
Yeah.
And I was able to give all of that stuff back to him. So I can talk about it because I know that I don't have any of the blame. So I don't feel any guilt or anything else around it now.
Mm-hmm.
I've given that all back to him because he is the one that did the wrong thing.
Yes.
I was a child in the wrong place. So, that was a lot of counseling when I was growing up, all sorts of stuff. But it wasn't until I came to actually believe that it wasn't my fault that I was actually then able to, let go of it enough to be able to get through.
Yeah, be able to move on.
Yeah. I know that I'm overprotective of my own kids. They don't go for sleepovers or anything else if I don't know the parents. And that's obviously a result of what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else, I've actually managed to deal with it and to be able to have I love my life. So I feel quite proud that I have gotten past all of that stuff. In teenage years, I was with someone that wasn't a nice person. I was with them for 8.5 years before I finally got the courage to leave. They were abusive. I got to the point that I'm like, if I don't get out of here, I'm not getting out of here at all. Yeah. It got scary. Wow. So managed to make the break there. Then was about 6 months or a bit more than 6 months later, enjoying my single life and, you know, going to Antarctica with work and all sorts of amazing. That was, you know, the roller coaster of life.
I want to come back to Antarctica, but keep going.
Yeah, well, I met the good guy on the second trip that I went to Antarctica, and had a bit of a long distance relationship for a bit before we actually ended up in the same country. So we've been married for coming up to 16 years this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids, so I was getting to another hardship. Our first child was stillborn. So again, you're dropping back down into the depths of hell, because I would not wish losing a child on my worst nightmare. It is the most horrific thing, and I've been through a lot of stuff. The most horrific thing that I've ever been through, and it actually broke me. So my son would have been 11 this year.
Yeah.
And we were very, very lucky to have 2 children after him. So I've got my second son was 9 in February, and I have a little girl that's coming up to 7. So I'm very, very, very lucky and very grateful that I was able to have healthy children after losing my child. It's
you never forget, do you? There's a lot of people that think you just forget and move on, but that's just an impossibility.
And it shows you who your friends are. So I lost a lot of friendships as well, because people didn't know what to say, so they didn't say anything and just disappeared.
Wow, it's funny, isn't it?
So it's heartbreaking at the time, because you've just lost your child, and then you've got friends that just don't care enough to actually make the effort to see if you're okay in the most horrific time of your life.
I don't know that this is just my thought and opinion. I don't know that it's they don't care enough, but it's they're too afraid. You know, people are so afraid in grief to reach out and just be there and say, oh, I have no idea what to say. I have no idea what to do. However, I will just sit and hold your hand, or I'm here. And
absolutely.
We've all made mistakes along the way. God knows I made a million of them myself. But I do believe that is, you know, if they're your friends, that it wasn't that they didn't care, but, you know, we just get so lost in fear that we do nothing, which seems like we don't care, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of those friendships, all I did was just stopped being the person to keep the friendship going, and it just died anyway. So it was kind of telling me that it was a one-sided friendship anyway.
Maybe it's just a parting of the ways, isn't it?
Yeah. But, you know, as I said, you know who your friends are when you've been to hell and back. So because they're the ones that make sure that you're still there. And I had one friend who every single day would send me a message checking up on you. She wouldn't say, how are you? Because it's the stupidest question you can ever ask anyone that has just lost a massive part of their life.
Yeah.
But just checking in. And if I didn't reply, she'd be at my door.
So can you give some advice then, because to help other people who may be listening, who either have a friend or family member who is going through grief, whether it's from losing a child or somebody dear to them, is there some advice? Because grief is a really hard thing. I remember buying some books for somebody I know who lost a baby, and, you know, the book, it was actually a book of like 2 in a set. One was for the person who'd lost the baby, and the other was for this person. So one was for them on how to deal with their grief, and this one was how to be with that person while they were dealing with their grief. So it was a really good book set. I wish I could remember what it was. But is there some advice that you could give to people on exactly what it would be that you would want? You know, like you had that friend who was just sending you a text that said just checking in, and if you didn't reply, they were there at your door. What else is there? You know, like, because people they don't know whether to ask you out for, you know, do you want to go for a coffee? That just is like this emptiness of, I don't know what to do, so I'll do nothing. So could you give some advice on what you would have liked people to have done?
So even the people that still invited us to things, but said the wrong thing. Like sometimes they would just come out and just say, you know, oh, your child's in a better place, which I still hate. No, they're not in a better place. They're dead. It's not okay. And I can't accept that. But at least they were trying. So I never got angry with them for not knowing. I would just say, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
But, you know, there is nothing that anyone can say that is going to make you feel better. So don't try to make them feel better. Just be there.
Yes.
Be the person. Speak the child's name, because they would have named the child, or, you know, if it was in a miscarriage and they didn't know the gender, they will have something that they refer to the baby. Like a friend of mine, they called the baby Peanut because in the first ultrasound they look like a little peanut.
Yeah.
So, you know, speak their name. It's okay. Like, you're not reminding them that they've lost a child, because
they never forgot.
They've never forgotten.
Yeah.
And it's the same with someone losing a family member, and, you know, they might have been 90 something years old, and, you know, I've heard people say, oh, well, they had a long life. It doesn't make it any less hard to let go of that person, though. It's still something that, you know, they've just lost that person. So maybe you can ask them what your favorite memories are of that person.
Yeah.
You know, things that are, remember them. Just, yeah.
Talk about it with them, because that's, you know, I've lost a lot of people as well. And you're right, people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to, they're afraid they're going to remind you. I remember a friend of mine, her daughter's boyfriend committed suicide, and nobody wanted to mention his name. We all worked with the boy, and, you know, everybody was like so afraid to mention his name in case we, you know, it made us all remember. But there wasn't one person who wasn't walking around thinking, you know, having thoughts about him. We were all there. And you're so right that it's important to say their name so it's not lost, and so that it's not a secret, and, you know, just to keep it all up front and allow somebody their tears. I think the thing that people are afraid of is that they'll say something and you'll cry, and they feel uncomfortable when somebody's crying. And I think to that, I often just say, just let them cry. You know, don't even try to comfort them, just let them cry. And then wait until they're ready to talk again.
Absolutely, yeah. And people will talk if you give them the space to.
And it helps them move past their grief, right? I mean, that's the whole grieving thing. When my brother died in 1982, my dad, who was still working then, and he said, years and years later, he told me this story. He said, you know, it was only three weeks or 3 months after my brother had died, and he was sitting in the lunchroom at his work, and he was very sad and, you know, kind of despondent. And one of the other workers went, "What's wrong with Terry?" And, you know, they said, "Oh, well, I think he's still grieving about his son." And they went, "God, still?" You know, like 3 weeks or 3 months was going to be enough. But that's just people's, I'll say ignorant, but it is an ignorance. It's just a not knowing of the experience of somebody passing. And it takes years and years and years. And really, I don't think it ever goes away. You just kind of integrate it into your life. And with enough time and distance, you can have more and more days where the grief isn't so prominent.
Yeah, that's right. So I know this Mother's Day wasn't as hard as it normally is. Like, as I said, I'm very grateful for the kids that, you know, my rainbow babies that came after the storm. So I'm very grateful to have them. But still, you know, Mother's Day is a reminder of what I don't have. And it's always like, I have a photography business as well. So for Mother's Day, I created something amazing and beautiful that I could then give away. So I give away like a whole photo shoot hair and makeup, everything, the whole works, every photo, like every final photo is printed.
Yeah.
And so the lead up to Mother's Day, I'm focusing on something that gives me joy instead of focusing so much on how much my heart hurts that there's a big hole there.
Yes.
So that's how I deal with it. Other people have different ways of dealing with things, but milestones and significant days are very, very hard.
They are. I could talk about this for our whole session together, actually, or we probably will move on to something else. But it's such a big topic because we have all these scripts in our head. Like, our mind has raced ahead for the years of either the person that we've, whether it's like you say, your mother or father or somebody who dies at 90. Your brain has still got all these scripts that it's written about all the birthdays and Christmases and everything that it's going to share with that person. And it has to rewrite all of those scripts as each time comes. And I imagine as with a child, when you lose a child, you've written, you're a mum, you've written all the scripts right through for their whole entire life, and you have to go through those steps.
Yeah, it was very, very, very difficult time of my life, but my son taught me a lot about resilience, a lot about who my friends were, a lot about who I was and what I was capable of. So anything now, it's not too hard because I've survived that, so nothing is going to hurt me now.
Yeah,
it's
you have been through a lot.
My benchmark for strength.
Yeah, you've been through so much.
Yeah. I said to someone one day, I must have been a really bad person in a previous life and I'm paying for it this life.
Never
and then I said, well, maybe you just need these lessons to pass on to the next level, or I don't know what comes next after death, and I don't think I'll ever know until I'm actually there, but it's interesting.
I don't know why some people have a lot more hardships to go through than others, but I never think of it as having to go through lessons. It's just the roller coaster of a human life, because some people do have a lot to go through, born in eras where they have to go through wars and depressions, and there's just so many people. I think it is just the life of a human being that we have to go through so many things. So tell me, Kelly, we've talked about your hardships and you've been through many. So what's one of the biggest risks that you've ever taken, and why did you take it?
Always for love. Met my husband on the second Antarctic trip that I was on, and it was supposed to be just a little bit of fun, fooling around, whatever, but
romance.
Fell in love. So I still call him my Latin lover because husband sounds so boring. And he's from Chile, so it's definitely Latino. But so many people, everyone has their own stories on things. So when we were together and I told people about this amazing guy that I'd met and all this sort of stuff, and there were the people that were, how do you know that he's not just marrying you to get into Australia? Or, that kind of thing. But
pessimistic view.
Yeah. But he also said, well, if I can't come to Australia, would you move to Chile? So I looked up, teaching English to speakers of other languages, because what else was I going to do there? I can't sit still, so I have to be doing something. And that was going to be the plan B, that if his visa to come to Australia didn't get approved, I was going to move to Chile. So it wasn't that he wanted to just move to Australia. He actually wanted to be with me.
Of course.
And I made sure that he met my family before I actually accepted, to get married, because I'm like, oh, for one, I tried to talk him out of it, because you don't want to marry me. Why would you want to marry me?
Why did you try to talk him out of it?
Exactly.
But why? You're
Oh,
lovely.
I don't know. And then, then he met my family, and I'm like, well, if you still want to marry me, you know what you're getting yourself into, buddy. So, I mean, my family are great, but I wanted to make sure that he had met my family and that they approved as well. So my family love him. He is a good guy.
And have you been over to Chile? Have you spent much time in Chile?
Yeah, we've been 4 times in total. It's been about, what are we up to now? 4.5 years since we met, or since we got to go back, because we were due to go back around 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
Obviously, that can't happen right now. So the international borders are opening up more and more. But yeah, I'm still worried about taking the kids out of the country, to be honest. So I don't know when it's going to be that we can all get there as a family.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I guess with the magic of technology and everything, that your kids get to see the grandparents and their family in Chile through the magic of Skype and Zoom and WhatsApp
absolutely,
and all of that stuff.
Yeah, they're my kids don't really speak Spanish because my husband was a little bit lazy. So they know the basic, hello, goodbye, thank you, that kind of thing. They know how to say how are you, but yeah, actual conversations, they wouldn't be able to keep up.
My
kids don't need it either. Like when we were last there was kids that they could say hello, goodbye to. That was it. And they were playing together all day.
The universal language, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And even when I was first going to Chile, like I learned Spanish so I could speak to my husband's family. But my Spanish wasn't very good for a while there. So it's still not great now. But at least I try, and that's the main thing. But his family are fantastic. Like they just accepted me into the family, and they're all really lovely people. So
and why wouldn't they? You're lovely.
To be able to go back and see them again.
Okay, so that's really interesting. And I still want to come back to Antarctica in a moment. But maybe you could tell me about the hardest thing that you've ever gone through voluntarily. Like you've gone through a lot of hardships that weren't of your choice. Is there anything that you've gone through voluntarily, like you've chosen to do something because it was going to serve a greater purpose, but it was an arduous task, or, it just turned out to be something that you didn't quite expect and it was a bit of a hardship or a great obstacle?
Yeah. So after Lou had come to Australia to meet my family, the day or 2 days before he was flying back to Chile, he asked me to marry him. And I actually said yes at that point. We've been together for bit over 6 months, I think, at that stage.
Yeah.
But then we knew that we couldn't see each other in person for the next 7.5 months.
Oh.
So it was our way of saying, I'm serious about this. I'm, not going to do anything with anyone else. I'm waiting for you.
Yeah.
And yes, we didn't see each other in person. So because he was working on an Antarctic ship as well, we couldn't just ring each other because he's in the middle of the ocean. So, so we had emails each day, and when he was in port, he'd give me a call. If it was a significant time or whatever, he would ring for a couple of minutes on the satellite phone, which was really, really expensive, like $5 a minute to be able to ring. And on a Chilean wage, like, it's not like Australian dollars. That was a lot of money. So it was very, a 2-minute conversation was all we had. I was like, yeah, I'm okay.
Each other's voice.
Yes, exactly. So it's not like, we didn't have Facebook and that kind of thing at that time to be able to do messenger calls and whatever else. So
I know we live in the best of times now, don't we?
Absolutely. It would have been much easier.
So what is it that you do for fun, Kelly?
Photography. We go on family adventures and find, amazing places like that was from Machu Picchu, from when when we got to go over there before kids were born, and good backpack and all those things. But yeah, I absolutely adore my photography.
Yes. We'll have you back on the show to talk more about your photography, because you do some beautiful work.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very, very passionate about it.
You've just been away. Every time I've spoken to you recently, you're off for a weekend. So you've been off taking photos and doing fun stuff with the kids, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we nearly paid our mortgage off. We were very excited about that. And then we decided to take all the money out of the redraw, buy a ute for my husband and a caravan.
Nice one.
So, yes. So now we've got a mortgage, and yeah, that's okay though. It's more fun. Like when my kids are, 30 years old and they've got their own families and whatever else, are they going to look back to when they were 9 and nearly 7 and go, oh my God, I remember when my parents paid off our mortgage? Or are they going to look back and go, we had such fun?
Yeah, we had so many great holidays.
Yeah, and even if it's just a weekend, like we went to Hiawatha, the Minnehaha Falls near Yarram, which is in Victoria.
Yeah.
Had a weekend there. We live in East Gippsland, and it's a beautiful place with so many amazing places to go and visit. So, we've got beaches 10 minutes down the road from Bairnsdale. Lakes Entrance, we've got the Gippsland Lakes that are running along the coast. We've got mountains and snow, and if there's already snowing here, I can feel it in the air.
Yay! I have only ever seen
beautiful.
snow a few times, unfortunately. So how wonderful you're going to go for weekends to the snow.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. So we're just going on a day trip to the snow, because there's no way I'm staying up there overnight. It's too cold.
In the caravan, you sure?
Oh, definitely not in the caravan. It would be freezing. But hopefully in a few months, we're going to be going a little bit north with the caravan, and finding a few places to have a few adventures. We have no plans, which is the best bit. So we'll just figure it out as we go.
Have you thought about packing up, renting out the house, and traveling around Australia and homeschooling the kids?
Constantly.
Do it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that since before I even had kids.
Be a good plan. I've known a few people who have done it and just been the best experiences they could have ever done with their kids.
And we know that we can homeschool now. Been doing it long enough.
Thank you, COVID.
Yeah. Yes.
So I normally ask my guests about how do they relax, but it sounds like your fun and relaxation are really part and parcel, or are they different?
Well, on a Friday night, so tonight, the kids and I and my husband, he's been away all week, so we'll have dinner together, and then we'll watch a movie of some kind. It's cold now, so we have the wood fire going.
Nice.
Disney movie, wood fire, dinner. It's just that's the kind of stuff that I love now.
I would swap you a bit of that cold, because it's still not very cold actually in Brisbane for this particular time of year. It's still pretty mild weather, but we've had a lot of rain. So I'll swap you some of that cold and your nice fireplace.
Yes. Yeah, I love the heat. I'm more of a heat person than the cold. Like when I can feel the snow in the air in Bairnsdale, I'm like, oh, here comes winter.
See, and I'm the opposite. Oh, here comes summer, the heat.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I actually wanted to move to Brisbane because it just seemed like it would be warm all year.
It is. It's not very, and I live in an apartment too, which makes it a lot warmer through the winter, because you've got so much insulation in apartments as opposed to the thin walls of a house. So I find that it's extra mild for the winters. So we'll do a swap. In the next winter, we'll do a little house swap. You come up here, absolutely. I'll go down there.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone about that one day. It's like, yeah, you can have my house, I'll have your house. Let's just swap for a few weeks.
It's a thing, right? There's websites for house swapping. You can go anywhere in the world and swap homes with people. I
think it's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Kelly, tell me, how did your earlier career choices actually lead you to where you are now? Is there a connection, or is it one of those things that just evolved and there's no real trail of breadcrumbs that got you to where you are now?
It's more like the branches of a tree with my so I started out with I love science, and I will always love science. I love asking questions and then trying to find answers to them. I love how our brain works and biology and all that sort of stuff. So I was definitely going to get into science.
Yeah.
So I studied for 4 years through Deakin Uni in Warrnambool, and became an aquatic scientist. And it was through there that I was doing my honours degree. The day that I handed that in, my supervisor asked me if I'd like to go on one of the Antarctic trips that she was organising. And I was like, oh my God, yes. Because that was my lifelong goal, to get to Antarctica. So I went there on 3 different trips, and it was incredible. And it was during that time that I found my absolute love of photography. So I'd had cameras before. My first camera was when I was about 9 years old, and I'd, mum would get me a film every now and then, and I'd brush the dog and make him all pretty and take his photo, and my rabbit, and even got some nice photos of my mum and all that sort of stuff. But it wasn't until the age of digital photography that I really ran with it, because I couldn't afford films and processing and all that. Where digital made it so much easier.
Makes it much more accessible, doesn't it?
Yeah. So my first SLR camera, I read the manual cover to cover. I learned all the things that it could do, and went to Antarctica, and oh my God, it was incredible. You can't take a bad photo of an iceberg, I'm sure. Like, they're incredible. Getting to see all the animals down there. There was whales and seals and just penguins. I love penguins. So I've ended up with thousands of photos.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah. And then a few years later, coming back to Australia, getting married, and then thinking about having kids, I'm like, well, can't really go to Antarctica all the time if I'm wanting to be a mum. And I knew that once I had kids, that's where I wanted to be. Because I know, like, I love other people's kids. And I couldn't imagine leaving my own to go somewhere else. Like, I used to cry when I was leaving to visiting my brother, having to leave my nephews and not seeing him for months at a time. So I knew that once I had my own kids, that would be where my heart would be. So kind of set up a life that was possible with kids. And being self-employed seemed like the great thing to do, because then you can work around your kids. Like, that's a great idea in theory, until the kid comes along and you realize that
they don't just
eat and sleep and poop. They actually do a lot more than that. So it wasn't really, both of my kids are at school now. But for the last however many years, well, my son's 9, so for the last long time, I've been working around daycare, kinder, all that sort of stuff. So pretty much 1 or 2 days a week where I could. And then it's only last year that I was actually able to, well, not really last year, because most of that was in lockdown, that I can actually work school hours and take the businesses to the next level.
Excellent.
And I'm really enjoying myself, though. I still love it.
That's wonderful. So if people want to connect with you for the Quit Smoking program, how would they do that?
So I've got, if they want the book, it's on thequitbook.com.au. My the program has a different website. I'm working on getting them merged, but I need to hire someone else to do that for me. So about the program is quitin60 East Gippsland.com.au. And I'm on Facebook as the Quit Lady, because every time I went up the street after I started, I had it Quit Cigarettes in East Gippsland, or Quit Cigarettes in 60 Minutes East Gippsland was my Facebook page.
Yeah.
But every time I go up the street, especially if I was wearing this red cardigan, which is me on the book and on my newspaper articles and all that sort of stuff at that stage, people would go, oh, you're the quit lady. I'm like, yep, that's me. So then I changed. So, yep, the quit lady on Facebook.
Fault, they say.
Yeah. So on the Quit Lady page, I actually have quite a few and a growing collection of free videos that people can watch.
Right.
So there's one helping people to release anxiety. There's others that are, getting people to think differently about smoking. There's all sorts of stuff on there. So if people want to have a look at those, they're in the free video section on the Facebook page.
Awesome. And we'll add all your contact details at the end of this video as well. There'll be a slide with all your contact videos. So thanks very much for coming on the show today, Kelly. It's been such a great pleasure talking to you. And thank you for sharing so much about your hardships in your life. And it's always just so hard to say goodbye. So thank you very much. And for those who are watching, please do subscribe to the channel and leave us a comment below if you would like to make a remark or comment on something that Kelly shared with us today. She shared some very personal stuff with us today, and it would be wonderful to know what you found valuable about the conversation, and has it helped you overcome any of your obstacles that you're currently facing. So thanks again, everybody. Please do subscribe. Please leave us a comment, and we will see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.